Tonight on News 3 New Mexico, Governor Abbott has reopened the state of Texas.
And what can you expect for your weather looking ahead? Find out my full weather forecast.
And ENMU head football coach Kelly Lee is leaving the Greyhounds. News 3 New Mexico starts right now.
This is News 3 New Mexico, your local source for news, sports, and first weather.
Good evening and welcome to News 3 New Mexico. I'm Landry Senna. Governor Greg Abbott made the huge announcement yesterday to open the state of Texas 100% and to lift the statewide mask mandate.
Effective next Wednesday, all businesses of any type are allowed to open 100%. Also, I am ending the statewide mask mandate.
This announcement comes after hospitalizations in the state have declined and more people are getting vaccinated. Abbott is fully vaccinated himself and said in his speech that while COVID still exists across Texas, the country, and the world, the safe practices Texans are using and the success shown, these states' mandates are no longer needed. Public officials in Texas and other states have mixed feelings about the announcement. Some are stunned and think it's too early.
I'm stunned. This is going to explode community spread, and right in the midst of these variants that are coming, it is the wrong decision and it's dangerous.
The number of active COVID cases in the state are at the lowest they have been since November. Winter Storm Uri made electricity more expensive to produce because of shortages in natural gas used to fuel power plants. But Xcel Energy customers in Texas and New Mexico will be protected from the extreme billing spikes that are making news in parts of Texas. Xcel Energy plans to seek approval to stretch out recovery of fuel costs up to a 24-month period in both Texas and New Mexico. The company is still calculating the natural gas and market energy costs from Winter Storm Uri, but expect customers to pay $7 more per month for 2 years. Natural gas fuels about half the region's electricity supply. On the coldest days of Winter Storm Uri, plants in Texas and New Mexico were receiving as little as 30% of the firm gas supply needed to keep the plants running at full capacity. Natural gas became scarcer and more expensive. The largest and oldest power cooperative in Texas is filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, citing last month's winter storm that left millions without power. Brazos Electric Power, which serves 16 distribution member cooperatives that cater to more than 1.5 million Texans, said Monday that it was a financially robust, stable company prior to the severe cold weather that hit Texas between February 13th and 19th. Brazos said that it received excessively high invoices from their Electric Reliability Council of Texas for collateral and purported cost of electric service. Brazos says it's decided not to pass on the ERCOT costs to its members or their customers. Well, Owen, a little bit more of a normal week this week, I would say, feeling a little bit more like spring, but what can we expect, and is that feeling going to stay?
Well, as always with New Mexico, it's going to be more wind. Let's go ahead and look at the maps for that, all right? So, as you can see here, it was just on Thursday at around 4 p.m. there, and we could see some gusting. There is going to be tomorrow on Thursday a wind advisory. We are going to have wind speeds of up to about 20 and maybe up to 50. So please do be aware between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. And I'll let you know more about what's happening this week in my full weather forecast. Back to you, Landry.
A bill capping interest rates at 36% annually for short-term, low-dollar loans has cleared the New Mexico Senate. Democrats say it will further reduce lending they describe as predatory. Republicans and one Democrat opposing the bill called it out of touch, arguing that on a monthly basis, the bill will cap loans to 3% and largely eliminate access to credit for the poor and unbanked. Currently, lenders can charge as much as 175% on loans of $5,000 or less. Supporters of the bill say that local nonprofit organizations and credit unions are increasingly lending to those in need. A federal judge has approved an order proposing the creation of an outside team to assist the Albuquerque Police Department with investigations onto officer-related use of force cases. The Albuquerque Journal reported that U.S. District Judge James Browning signed off on the order after a federal court hearing on Friday. The U.S. Department of Justice and the City of Albuquerque proposed hiring an administrator and an undetermined number of investigators to assist the police department's Internal Affairs Force Division in cases where police officers use force causing injury, hospitalization, or death. The city hopes to have an administrator in place in May to start hiring the team. Congress begins its debate this week on sweeping voting and ethics legislation. This bill would affect every aspect of the electoral voting process. House Resolution 1, Democrats' 791-page bill, is structured around access to the ballot. The bill includes mandating early voting, same-day registration, require political groups to disclose anonymous donors, create requirements for online political ads, appropriate nearly $2 billion for election infrastructure upgrades, and future presidents would be obligated to disclose their tax returns. If the bill is signed into law, this would create the largest overhaul of U.S. elections law in a generation. Stay tuned for weather with Owen after the break, but first, here's a look at today's financial market.
Hi there, everybody, and welcome back to News 3 New Mexico. I'm Owen Crowley, here to give you further context as to the world of crazy weather here in New Mexico. But I speak a little ahead of myself. It's not going to be too crazy beyond that wind advisory. We're looking here at the current temperatures, and we're looking at 70s. It feels like it's been so long since the 70s, and I actually am really loving it. I'm ready to get into a short sleeve shirt myself. Moving forward here into the eastern portion here, we have 70 in Clovis, 71 in Portales, and 75 in Roswell, always standing out. Moving forward to the lows, the thing that we have to worry about here, we can see up in the upper northwestern portion of the state, we're still having below freezing temperatures here with 26 in Farmington and 22 in Gallup. And then that stays true throughout the central mountains there with 29 in Santa Fe, 35 in Albuquerque, and 35 in Socorro, excuse me. And then over here in the eastern portion of New Mexico, we can see that we're out of those freezing temperatures. We've got 39 in Clovis, 41 in Portales, and let me get out of your way there, Roswell, that's 45. So going on into tomorrow's highs, we can see 52 in Farmington, 48 in Gallup, in the central mountains there, 52 in Santa Fe, 56 in Albuquerque, and of course, in our little slice of heaven here in eastern New Mexico, we have 68 for Clovis, 67 for Portales, and 73 for Roswell. Going into the 7-day forecast, we can see here for Roswell, we are looking at gusty through most of the week, as that wind advisory let us know. And it's going to be a sunny weekend, though, folks. Look forward to that. In Carlsbad, wind, sunny weekend. It's going to get cloudy there on Monday, but then you're getting that sunshine back on Tuesday and Wednesday. Going to Tucumcari, we're all very similar to one another here in New Mexico. Solidarity, wind through Thursday and Friday, cloudy with some sunshine on Saturday, then a full sunny day on Sunday. And then finally, Portales, wind, and a little bit of sunshine for the weekend.
Well, Owen, you know, some of our first stories of this newscast reflected on that winter storm we saw in the middle of February. And as much as I am a lover of winter, I'm at that point where I'm pretty excited for spring.
Yeah, I'm pretty over it, to put it in old-fashioned terms. And I'm ready to, sun's out, guns out. Let's get some tans going, people.
There we go, but wear your sunscreen.
Oh, yes, of course.
Well, that is all the weather that we have for you this evening, but make sure you stay tuned and we'll be back at the desk after this break. Have you ever dreamed of turning an old school bus into an RV? A couple in Lubbock has made that a reality. News 3 New Mexico's Marilyn Upchurch spoke with one of the creative minds behind this old school bus turned into a fun spot to unplug.
Also rent a school bus right outside of Lubbock, a way to unwind in the country.
we had so many more staycation people than we've ever had because people were just so ready to get out of their houses during the quarantining and everything. And it was really fun to have people say, you know, this is Lubbock, but it feels like we're out of Lubbock. We're like 20 minutes, 10 minutes north, maybe 15 minutes to Texas Tech. It's not far at all, but you're in the country and you feel like you're somewhere else. And so you feel like you've really gotten away. My husband and I, we love to travel. That's our favorite thing. We love camping and, you know, just getting out doing really unique types of travel. And one day my husband said, let's buy a school bus and convert it into like an RV or, you know, tiny home type thing. And I was like, okay, that's fun. And we like the idea of, you know, a more personal touch of being a host instead of, you know, you just show up at a hotel and you roll in, you don't really talk to anybody, and then you leave. I love hearing people's stories. A lot of them are just passing through. Some are going East Coast to West Coast. I think Airbnb is that total package of being able to be involved in other people's travel stories and their journeys. So it's a lot of fun. Even though we're not traveling with them, we feel like we're a part of their journey.
For News 3 New Mexico, I'm Marilyn Upchurch.
Artifacts collected by Phil Collins are on display at the Alamo after the legendary musician donated the items to the state of Texas. The Phil Collins collection preview includes a brass cannon used by the Mexican Army during the Battle of the Alamo and the original battle orders that called for the attack on the Alamo. The temporary exhibit is on display beginning Tuesday through April 25th. Collins donated his collection of more than 200 artifacts to the Texas General Land Office in 2014. During the 1836 Battle of the Alamo, nearly 200 defenders died following a 13-day battle with Mexican forces led by General Santa Anna. New Mexico lawmakers are exploring how to make sure kids spend more time in class next year to address the loss of learning during the pandemic. Senate Democrats have advanced a bill that would require schools to tap into an existing $200 million fund to extend the school year. The mandate would take effect if the governor's current in-person learning restrictions are lifted. Teachers would have to stick with their students for an additional 10 to 25 days, depending on the grade level, and would be paid for the extra time. A bill in the House would allow that time to be used in longer days instead. Well, we've got a lot of sports to cover today, so make sure you stay tuned, and you'll be back with Kiki after this break.
Welcome back, sports fans. I'm Kitana Sapinga here to bring you all the latest in local and national sports. After 8 seasons with the Greyhounds, Eastern's head football coach has resigned. Kelly Lee is starting a new chapter in Brownsville, Texas, as head coach and athletic director at Veterans Early College High School. The Class 5A Chargers interviewed 20 different candidates, yet Lee was found most qualified for the job. Gilbert Leal, athletic administrator for the Brownsville Independent School District, announced Lee's new positions Tuesday evening. He also said Lee understands the gravity of being an athletic coordinator and not just a football coach. ENMU athletic director Matt Billings has plans to find an interim coach soon, but is yet to meet with the assistant coaches regarding the open position. Billings is hopeful that Eastern won't have any trouble finding interests, as Lee did an outstanding job at rebuilding the program and getting our name out there. Lee leaves the Greyhounds with a 21-12 mark and is the top coach in regards to the winning percentage. His option offense was unique in the Lone Star Conference, with the 2019 team rushing for 4,182 yards. Lee's teams were known for being at the top of Division II in time of possession and knew how to keep a lead. I think it's important to recognize that Coach Lee was more than just a football coach here at Eastern. He was a member of the Portales community, and he stood as a father figure to some of the student athletes here. He gave his heart to Eastern, and we will for sure miss him, but are excited for his future and know he's destined to do great things in Brownsville. Last weekend, our baseball team traveled to Oklahoma and played the Cameron University Aggies. Our Greyhounds were only victorious in the second game, finishing the series 1-2. Although they didn't win the series, they competed and were finally able to get some chemistry going on the field. Coach Price was pleased with his team's performance and believed that what made them successful is that they made the right moves at the right time, which put themselves in a position to win.
That game, we definitely executed when we were supposed to. We put the ball in play more and got those, and just more timely hits is the biggest difference between those games. We put ourselves in a good position to win all three. was missing that timely hit at the right time.
Now that our Greyhounds got a little taste of victory, let's see if they can pull off a series win this weekend as they take on UTPB. Here in New Mexico, the NMAA has welcomed the return of high school athletics. This week, teams got to step back on the court for the first time in a year. The NMAA released new guidelines to ensure safe competition. Instead of watching the games in person, fans had to live stream the games from home. This will continue until a new update regarding the NMAA and high school athletic events is given. The University of New Mexico's men's basketball head coach, Paul Weir, is nearing the end of his coaching career with the Lobos. He is still going to finish out the regular season, as the Lobos' final conference game is tonight against Colorado State. This decision wasn't made alone. Athletic Director Eddie Nunez and Weir were both in agreement that there needs to be a change in leadership in the basketball program, and that this is the best option for the players, staff, and the program as a whole. Nunez said this season was a challenge from the start and that the team faced adversity every step of the way, but he feels that now is the appropriate time for a new beginning. The Lobos struggled this season as their record was 6-14 overall and they barely secured 2 conference wins. Of course, the global pandemic didn't help their case as all of their home games were played in Lubbock, Texas, but regardless of that, the players should expect more from themselves, especially if they want to be successful. I think the Lobos shouldn't look at this as a loss for their program, but more so an opportunity for them to rebuild and have a fresh start. Last Tuesday, professional golfer Tiger Woods suffered a horrific car crash. Now, a week later, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department issued a search warrant to retrieve data from the supposed black box that's said to have been in the car during the crash. In order to even issue a search warrant, there has to be probable cause that a crime was committed. Sheriff Deputy John Schogel said, "If somebody is involved in a traffic collision, we've got to reconstruct the traffic collision. If there is any reckless driving, if somebody was on their cell phone, or something like that. We determine if there is a crime. If there is no crime, we close out the case and it was a regular traffic collision." The first responders who found him in the car crash last week reported that he was alert with no signs of impairment. No further updates have been released. At this time, the Sheriff's Department is working on getting any possible evidence from the black box. Prayers go out to Tiger Woods and his loved ones during this tragic time as he is going through recovery. Greg McDermott, the head coach of men's basketball at Creighton University, is currently under fire for using a racially insensitive comment towards his team after a tough loss. After making such an ignorant remark, McDermott went to Twitter to release a statement apologizing for his unkind language. On February 27th, after an emotionally tough loss on the road, I addressed our student athletes and staff in the post-game locker room and used a terribly inappropriate analogy in making a point about staying together as a team despite the loss. Specifically, I said, "Guys, we gotta stick together. We need both feet in. I need everybody to stay on the plantation. I can't have anybody leave the plantation." I immediately recognized my egregious mistake and quickly addressed my use of such insensitive words with my team. I've never used that analogy and it is not indicative of who I am as a person or as a coach. I am deeply sorry. I feel like these type of apologies have been so common within the last year or so. I hope that Coach McDermott's mistake will serve as a lesson to others out there who are also in leadership positions that words do matter and that they do have an impact on someone, whether you know it or not. Well, that is all the sports I have for you, but stay tuned and we'll be right back after this break.
Well, Owen, I misspoke earlier and I thought that was the last time we'd be hearing from you, but thank goodness it's not because we have some more weather to get to.
Listen, I always have more weather for my lovely audience here tonight. So, looking over at the maps here, I actually have a little winter weather advisory here for some people here in the northern portion of New Mexico along the Colorado border. You can see here that this is affecting Rio Arriba and Taos, and you can expect maybe about 3 to 6 inches of snow. That's the estimation, and please do be careful when you're driving. Be cautious of any slippery roads, and hey, you know, maybe now's the time to buy snow tires if you've been slacking on that. This is your last chance. Not your last chance, but you know what I mean. Looking over, I want to re-emphasize that here in eastern New Mexico, we have a wind advisory. Make sure that if you have anything outside that you are particularly attached to, that tie it down, bring it inside, something. We don't want to lose anybody. So as you can see here, this is around 2:30 tomorrow at Thursday. These are the estimated wind speeds. And we can see it's getting intense here in the Central Mountains and where we are in Portales. So going over here, I just want to re-emphasize that this is between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. And make sure to secure everything that you can and avoid roads perpendicular to the western winds. But that's all the weather I have for you tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Owen, and that is all the news we have for you this evening. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on Wednesday.